Hi, I am Dr. Kim Sage. Welcome to my channel. I'm so truly glad you're here. Today's video is all about understanding the aspects of often a difficult or complicated childhood, a very emotionally unsafe childhood, a very chaotic childhood, or maybe it was a very neglectful, shut down, where parents were unavailable childhood, but how all of that can play out in your adult lives around the issue of change. So if you are new, also please know that I have 3 courses online. You can check out the links down below. One called Remothered, helping you heal the inner child and the inner parent. And then my flagship course called The Borderline and Narcissistic Parent, basically healing and dealing with the trauma. And there's about 75 lessons in this course. Both courses have tons of videos, tons of meditations, affirmations, journal work, and exercises. So please check those out. Also, I always often do this, but I've been using this book a lot in the last couple weeks, and in many videos throughout, I usually hold them up, but I think I forgot last week. But this book talks about how to deal with those of us who are in relationship with often untreated narcissistic or borderline individuals. I would also say that applies if you would say, yes, my partner or parents are extremely immature, or I don't know what they are, but it's kind of like emotionally never consistent. I never know what I'm going to get. I would call it like an eggshell relationship. All of that applies for the course and for these videos and really for this channel. So what I want to talk about today is this concept of change and really blame, and how oftentimes we are living in these relationships with partners that we've chosen as a result of the childhoods we had. And we're really good at telling you and ourselves how much our partners are the issue, how much they need to change. In fact, when we talk to our friends or close relationships, everyone agrees that it's mostly our spouse that's the issue, and why that's a problem. So first of all, it's a problem because, number one, even if it was, and it usually is, and I say this with all the love in my heart, a subconscious choice. I mean, I will say I've done this, I did this in a significant way. It often is a replication of our childhood pattern in some way. And so what we are often doing is that we have never been able to fully understand what happened to us in childhood and how we had to respond to our parents and all that happened. And so we're really used to being in the I'm the good one role. Like, they're the crazy one, they're out of control, they're needy, they're controlling, they're critical. And the problem is that we might be right. I mean, that might be 100% true. But if we don't ever look at our part in what may need to change, we're going to be stuck in those relationships potentially forever, and can often be very, very miserable for a really long time. And so until you accept and understand that they are most likely not going to change, and how you know is if you would tell me in a session, but Dr. Sage, we've talked about it a million times, I've asked them to change, I've set boundaries, they promised they would, or they won't listen to me. Like, if there's a pattern of you trying to change it and they don't, the odds are very, very, very high that they are never going to change. And you have some choices to make about what you are going to do if you want to stay in those relationships. Now, where I think it's often complicated is we're often still in these kind of complicated parent relationships, but we're both adults, and we're with partners who often have these qualities that mirror our parents. And so we are embedded in this, it's like the language we speak. We don't even know we're in it oftentimes until years have gone by, or there's some major event that causes the end of the relationship, and we really begin to see it for what it is. That is especially true for more covert narcissists, more, I would say, mixed borderlines. Many people don't understand what untreated borderline looks like. I really truly believe this. And because there's such a push on narcissism today, they think it's just narcissism, and it's actually way more complicated than that. Or these are traumatically wounded parents that have qualities similar to borderline. And that's a different concept or issue about figuring out what they have and where their wounds are and compassion for them. But it only matters when we're talking about their treatment and giving you an understanding of why they're like that, which I think is very helpful. But it doesn't matter if you just stay in that and don't do anything about it and you don't work on change. So number one, they seem so clearly wrong, right? They have the really egregious bad behavior. And everyone says they're the problem. And your friends tell you that, your partner tells you that, yeah, you know, your mom is crazy or toxic or not nice, or your dad is so controlling, but nothing really changes. And everyone tells you how you're the good one, but nothing changes, right? So the problem is that belief keeps you trapped in that victim role because it's always being done to you. And you've realized that, you know, in order to get out of that relationship, you're going to have to change something. And oftentimes you're too scared to set a boundary, to speak up for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that if that's still the role, they're not going to change. And so it doesn't honor that they are hurting you. It doesn't honor that it is not ever your fault for someone wounding you, but at some point, if you don't change it, it's not going to change. And so the only power we have when we find it eventually, which oftentimes it can take us almost a lifetime for some people, others it happens earlier, is that we have to understand that we have to shift. We have to learn to set boundaries. We have to learn to say no. We have to learn to decide what we will accept and what we won't. And that oftentimes there's a huge gray area, because what I mean by that is that we're often sort of exchanging this like payoff, like babysitting from a toxic grandparent, or inheritance from a parent, or something with the marriage that we need to stay in for now because it's not safe, or we can't support ourselves. Like, I'm not suggesting that at all costs you can just wake up and set the boundaries and change everything. But I can promise you that if you don't work towards creating autonomy and independence and setting boundaries in some fashion, that nothing will change, because the person who is wounding you is not gonna stop and is not motivated to do so. And so, as I've said, and it's also in this course, also what to do, what boundaries to set, what are the commitments you want to make, is that if you want to try to keep the relationship, let's say with a toxic parent, you want to try to start with boundaries. And I have seen a lot of parents respond to that. They don't love it, but they will do things to stay connected to you or their grandchildren. And I've seen a lot of parents who just like won't do it. And so then you have a surface relationship, and for some parents, they'll accept that. You know, it's just like a kind of a fake relationship. You don't push back, you don't have deep conversations. But if that doesn't work, then you're often left with no contact. And that doesn't necessarily come easily for people for many different reasons. But that's kind of the level of where I can see it, and what your options might be. So I know it's difficult, but you do have to start with looking at yourself and saying, I didn't start this, I never wanted this. It was my own broken childhood that helped me maybe pick this partner, and I'm so sad for the part of me that wanted something different and longs for it, and it's not my fault, but I am the only one that can set the change in motion. And so maybe it's just a little tiny boundary, baby steps at a time. Maybe it's a big change overnight. But whatever it is, you have to know that you are worthy of the change, and learn to maybe get support and therapy and tolerate how yucky it feels when that person, partner, or parent is angry at you, when they don't like the boundaries you set, because I can promise you they probably won't. But it doesn't mean you can't get the support and tools to deal with it. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you know so much that I do understand, though I can never understand your individual story. I do know how hard it is to change, and that these things often happen in childhood. There are lifetime language. And so we often wake up in these relationships and find ourselves with the same struggles. And so it is a worthy adversary in terms of shifting. It really is. It's not easy. And so I hope you'll know that I care, and that I think about you in this process, and that I know it's difficult, but that you can do it. So, thanks for watching. Please stay safe and well, and I'll see you tomorrow.